what's going on, everybody? So, One Piece chapter 825. Gotta say, man, so I'm guessing this starts a new arc, and I mean, we're all to a good start on this. We're really all to a good start on this one, and I gotta say, like, one of the things that I love the most was how you have Sanji when Gotti and Vito are just telling him, like, hey, you're in Big Mom's territory now, you're about to get married, you should chill and relax. They're talking up the Vince spoke lineage of Sanji, and Sanji's just quickly growing irritated as things begin to progress. Like, in Sanji's heart, you can tell, like, you hear all the time, to borrow a cliche now, you hear all the time about how people say, oh, he really ain't about that life. You know, for the stuff that Sanji's family does, Sanji ain't about that. You know, Sanji's cut from a different cloth. So I really like the fact that you're seeing that here, and you're seeing how Sanji is just breaking away from it. And you know, I find myself relating to Sanji in that way because I've talked about this in the past before. You know, like for me, there's a lot of pressure, and I buck the trend. You know, like a lot of people in my family, you know, my mom, my aunt, my sister, and I can keep going onwards. Like a lot of them are bankers, they're bank managers. My mom was really high up at Bank of America. She was really high up at another bank. And so when you look at that, when you look at, you know, my sister being pretty high at Fifth Third Bank and just all these other organizations and having an aunt who has a CPA, it was very strongly suggested that I go into a similar field where I get into banking or I get into finance, and I bucked it. I bucked that trend all the way. I went into a career field that, you know, for what my degree's in, I need a master's degree in order to even get into it. And so I'm kind of in that in between space or whatnot. But so when you look at Sanji, you know, Sanji was with a group of essentially assassins. That's his family lineage. He was expected to follow that path, and he's on a pirate ship serving as a serving as a cook for a crew of pirates. But the Straw Hat Pirates aren't like the kid pirates. They aren't going out there, they're not killing people. They're actually, for better or for worse, they're going to these different islands and they're liberating people. They're changing the culture. Like Sanji's doing the exact opposite. So my heart goes out to him because I understand, you know, when you're essentially the black sheep in your family, what that pressure feels like. And I like how Sanji, his coping mechanism is he's like, look, I'm not gonna get married. That ain't in the cards for me. And even though he's got this huge bazooka in his face, Sanji pulls out the cigarette and just starts smoking. And he's like, if you don't get that damn gun out of my face. Like, I love what you see out of Sanji in this moment because it's showing you that Sanji has the conviction of his will. It's not going to back down. So I do like that. And I do like how as we transition over to the Straw Hats, you know, we see the continuing fallout of what happens when Luffy's your cook. Because Luffy, a few chapters ago, cooked up everything that they had for emergency store. And when you're on the Grand Line, you're seeing now what happens when you're on the Grand Line. And because the climate can just change at any given moment, because the climate can change at any given moment, you know, you got to have food storage, you gotta have water because you never know. And so because they're essentially dying of hunger, Luffy's getting hunger pains to the point where he's looking at Chopper and he's like, oh, emergency food. And Chopper's like, don't you look at me like that, don't look at me like that. Like, I love that interaction between those two. And I like how Nami is just so worn down from all that heat and fatigue and hunger and exhaustion that when Brooke says, like, Nami, can I see your panties? She says, I only have the energy to smack you. So that's letting you know that, okay, they're in pretty dire straits right here. And what's so cool about that is the fact that once they do find a fish, in this boiling hot water. That should be the first sign that this food, it might be edible, but this ain't gonna be a normal fish. Luffy doesn't wait. Luffy just starts eating the skin off the fish. And we find out once Chopper digs through all of Sanji's porno magazines. Which I gotta say, man. Sanji, goddamn, dude. Goddamn. You're quickly moving to my rank of best perverts in shonen. Like, Sanji, beneath all those magazines with naked women, beneath all of that, he has his instructions. And so Nami, you know, to Nami's credit, she gets everything, she cooks it. Chopper's having to treat on Luffy, and you know, Luffy's like, I'm seeing the river, and Chopper's like, he's seeing the river Styx. Like, Chopper is just, you know, going crazy, but at the same time, he's still eating at the same time. And I just like that goofy nature and interactions. You know, I was a little worried about this group here because I wasn't completely sure how the interactions were going to go. Like, I knew Nami and Luffy would be good, but I mean, like, when you got, like, the Mink and you got Peckham's, I mean, it's one of those things where I wasn't too sure, but I think that this team right here that's sent to bring Sanji back, I think that they have a lot of potential. I think they have a lot of potential. And I like how when it starts, you know, raining, or when the snow starts falling, it ends up being cotton candy. And Nami, you know, Nami's like, okay, this isn't snow. No, these are sugar clouds. And we find out that, okay, we've entered into Big Mom's territory. And that makes sense. I mean, Big Mom's a big bitch that got diabetes. So I totally understand that. And I like how as they move further into the territory, you know, the transponder snail goes off, and you see like the Big Mom Alliance and the Vinsmoke Alliance is definitely getting closer, because they come up and they say, okay, this is the ship of the Straw Hat, and right away, like, they're freaking out because they understand, like, oh shit, we've been caught. We thought we were gonna get an opportunity to sneak up on Big Mom. That's not necessarily the case. And the other thing I like how Sanji, when he's looking at this other chick who comes in, who stops Gotti from shooting him. You know, Sanji looks at her and he says, she looks really familiar. Now, this is the thing. Right away, the thing that popped in my head was, I was like, okay, he's absolutely right. She looks familiar. And then I was like, oh shit, that's Lola. But that's not the Lola that we know from Thriller Bark. Like, they're the same build. But if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I've read Thriller Bark. But I remember, like, Lola and her crew went off into like the Bermuda Triangle or whatnot. Like, it's obviously not the Bermuda Triangle, but I mean, they went off and their ship got lost. And I remember Thriller Bark being with the whole thing with the zombies and everything. So I mean, this is interesting. This is interesting. So this is where Lola's actually from. And if that's the case, then that Vivre card that Nami had could play a key here. It could play a key. So I mean, this has potential. Like, Oda, I'm not sure exactly where he's going with this, but I mean, I do like this. So what I want to ask you guys, is, going into this chapter, what were your thoughts about Sanji's situation? What were your thoughts about that? Now that he's actually in Big Mom's territory and he's essentially hit that point of no return, how did you feel about Sanji at this point in the story? But, as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.